United made a half-assed, half-hearted attempt at an apology on yesterday for the treatment of David Dow, the doctor who was accosted, assaulted, and drug off of the flight because he did not volunteer to give up his seat for United Airline employees. He made the apology yesterday, and we covered it yesterday. He called it reaccommodation. But what happened after that was he released an email. He sent an email to his employees, which I'm not sure how he didn't realize this email was going to get to the press, but it did. And in the email, he essentially laid the blame at the feet of the customer. Instead of doing if nothing else, the proper public relations move, which is to own it. Instead of owning it internally, he disowned it and said that they did nothing wrong. Well, he's come out with another statement again today after 6 million people viewed. And actually, that's just on one clip, right? That's just one version of the clip. There are multiple versions of the clip, but just on one, over 6 million people viewed it on Facebook. And this is, again, if you're keeping up and if you're keeping tabs, this is the second issue that United has been taken to task over. The first, about 2 weeks ago, was the young woman who was denied access to the plane because she was wearing leggings. He came on to say that it was clear he wasn't going to come off. Actually, I'm sorry. This is from Tyler Bridges, but United, the person I want to quote was CEO Munoz. He said that the United will be conducting a review of the incident. He called it an upsetting event to all of us here at United. And later on, he continued to apologize more. So he's making a second attempt. He's trying to apologize again. He's trying to get it right because he didn't get it right the first time. That's just the first part of the story. The real part of the story, and actually, the most disturbing thing about the United story today is not so much the CEO who doesn't understand how to make an apology. It's the media. The media, and I want to say in general, because we see this happening in so many places, so many times, what the media does, and quote unquote journalists like to do, is to dig up information on the victims as though that's going to bring some type of context to the issue at hand. And this is exactly what was done to David Dow. The couple of images from the New York Post, from the Courier, from a different outlets that show exactly the attack that was made on the victim in this case. You can pull them up on the screen now. First is from Morgan Watkins, who works for, I believe, the Courier General. And she said, if anyone knows, this is how she set it up. If anyone knows the man in this United flight, please let me know, hoping to reach out to get his side of the story. Well, underneath it, you can see what she came out with a few hours later. David Dow, passenger removed from United flight, a doctor with a troubled past. This is the Courier General, courtesy of Morgan Watkins. On the right, you see this is New York Daily News, or the New York Post, rather. And they say the doctor dragged off a flight was convicted of trading drugs for sex. It gets worse. It goes a little further. This is the Courier General article again. David Dow, the Elizabethtown doctor yanked from the plane, has a troubled past in Kentucky. In this article, they showed pictures of his home as if that's somehow relevant. And then on the right, you have Lisa Fletcher from ABC 7 News. She said, my desk is covered with court and legal documents. The reason is troubled past of the doctor pulled off of United. Our report at 4 p.m. Well, Lisa and the rest of them got taken to task online so much that they all subsequently, except for the Courier General, deleted these tweets. And this is the thing. If we don't hold the media accountable for this type of behavior, they will continue to do it. And this is something we've seen. We've seen this in every single incident of police brutality, of a police shooting, Black Lives Matter, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, all the way across the board. We've seen the media do a hit job on the victim. This is not journalism. because there's nothing in this doctor's past that is remotely relevant to what happened to him on the plane. This does not give you any insight into his thinking. It doesn't give you any insight. First of all, it was 10 years. It was over a decade ago. Number one. Number two, the officers who came on that plane like stormtroopers assaulted him and drug him off had no idea about this man's past. That's number two. Number three, it does not even give you insight into his character, his personality, or what he was thinking at the time, because none of that connects to what he was experiencing when he was being forced to get off a flight that he paid for, and a flight that was going to get him home back to tend to his patients. And so as a journalist, you have to ask yourself, is this relevant to the story? Does this enhance the story? Does it give you context? Does it forward the narrative? Any narrative? Does this have anything to do with anything? Or am I using this simply to try to get a scoop, to try to seem as though I'm a good investigative reporter, to try to get clicks? And instead, what has happened is that these journalists are doing the bidding of United. They're doing the PR work for United Airlines. They're doing the dirty work for United Airlines because United Airlines could not themselves get away with this. Imagine if a PR firm associated with with United put out this information. They would lose more than the $1 billion in stock value that they lost today. But instead of them doing it, the media, journalists, ambitious journalists who want to make a name for themselves get out there and do the dirty work for corporations and for the police department, attacking the victim time and time and time again. And the only way they're going to stop is if you, me, everybody else, we make them pay the price. Not only are we not going to click on your piece of crap article, but we're going to take you to task publicly and let it be known that this is not what you do. You do not attack the victim. I mean, hell, if we let's take this a little bit further. Let's take this a little bit further. If we were to pull up the past of United Airlines, if we were to pull up the past of the Chicago Police Department, for instance, then we would have to point out every single thing that they've done that gives you insight into the thinking of those officers who stormed onto that plane and drugged them out. Because we're looking up the past of the victim, then clearly we can look up the past of the officers and the institution with whom they are affiliated. And if we do that in Chicago, then you have Laquan McDonald you have to answer for. You have the black sites where they tortured people off the books that they have to answer for. You have to answer for the assassination of Fred Hampton Jr. There's so many things that Chicago has to answer for that if we actually start digging up the past, then this guy, David Dow, trading drugs for sex is completely overshadowed by the gross incompetence, negligence, and abuse by the Chicago Police Department. And if we put up the past of United Airlines, what else would we find? How many times have they done this? How many times have they overbooked and pushed people off? If we don't even have to go to the past. Let's look at the fact that they had the ability to go up to at least $1,350 to get this man off the flight, but they stopped at $800. Let's talk about that. But instead of journalists looking that up, what they do instead is they do a search, the easiest, lowest hanging fruit, and they're doing a person search to pull up any public records on this man, and they find, oh, wow, this is breaking news. He has a charge from 2004, completely irrelevant to what happened to him on that plane. That's not journalism. That is tabloid paparazzi-ism.